My name is Alexander Glaves. I'm from Everett, Washington. My call was Salt Lake City South, and I served in July 2012 to July 2014.
My name is Seth Baum. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was called to the Utah Salt Lake City South mission, and I served from June 2013 to July 2015.
My name is Carolyn Jensen. I'm from Seattle, Washington area. I served in the California Bakersfield mission from September 2013 to March 2015.
My name is Clark Jensen. I served in Tokyo, Japan from November 2013 to November 2015.
All right, so I really wanted to spend so special time on the feeling of going into the mission field, specifically the first day, the first week, the first transfer, because all of these like firsts, I don't know, they're special to me, especially the first day. I remember the first day with extreme fidelity. I can literally remember what I had for dinner that night. So I don't know how you guys all feel about that, but for me, it was a special, important moment.
Yeah, I mean, the first day, I honestly remember almost nothing about it. I remember getting to my new area in the evening and the zone leader stopping by the apartment with some Japanese soda they picked up from the vending machine outside. They brought two different cans and gave me the choice of which one. One looked very strange and the other one looked pretty normal. And that was the one that they suggested. But when I asked what it was, they said it was Calpis.
Whoa.
And I was like, this is hazing. So I was like, okay, I'll have the other one. And they're like, are you sure Calpis is everyone's favorite usually, especially Americans? And I was like, yeah, I'm very confident. I don't want that one.
Was that like Calpis, but they're speaking Japanese, so they're hoping you don't understand?
No, that's literally what it's called.
What?
Wow.
And
If you spell it out for him.
yeah, so it's Calpis.
Okay.
So did
But-
you ever go back and have it?
But yeah, I did go back and
just to
have it,
see?
and it's fantastic. They were just being nice zone leaders.
That's hilarious.
But I was like, no one just gives someone Calpis.
You're like so on it. You're like, I'm not going to be tricked.
Like, no, not having this.
I will not be a buffoon. So I remember getting dropped off at the mission home. I know for a lot of people, there was like a day between like travel and they like slept that night and then went to the mission home or the mission office. We just obviously got dropped off in the morning at the mission office. Right. I remember seeing our 3 APs. There was Elder McKinney, who's this 5'7" bulldog looking of a man, right?
Absolute legend in the mission, by the way.
Yeah, McKinney is like, he's the stuff, okay? He's literally balding. Like, not like, oh, he's balding. No, he's like almost bald.
Oh man.
And then there's...
Like, could be mistaken for the mission president.
That was like a popular joke. It's like you see Elder Hess, Elder Armstrong, and the mission president. And then there's Elder Hess, who, like, I once heard described from a zone leader much later on the mission. But President Miller, he's like, I need a new AP. So he went down to the statue garden and looked at all these ancient Greek carvings. Which one of these will be my new AP? Came across this statue of a man and said, this will do. Clapped his hand, and out came Elder Hess. I mean, this guy, I swear his suits were like Hugo Boss. He looked immaculate, like square jaw. This guy he was just like, man. And then there's he's the stuff, yeah. And then there's Elder Armstrong. That was his first transfer as AP. He's this Maori elder from New Zealand.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a lot more to say about Elder Armstrong much later on, because he's a character. He's a really funny guy. And he was my AP for a good part of my mission. I mean, for now, he's just there. So anyway, so then we go into the primary room and we get the welcome into the field from President Miller. He's like, here's your 6 weeks training packet. Here's how you not get overwhelmed. And then we left and had these one-on-one interviews with President Miller. Now, President Miller is my first mission president. He's this large man with these hamburger helper hands. And I think, in my opinion, he looks a lot like Ronald Reagan. Now, in my interview with him, I'm like, can I just say that you look a lot like President Reagan? And he, I swear, gets like teary-eyed and is like, that means so much to me. Because he's like 70 years old. Like, yeah, this like, President Miller literally got in trouble from the 70s for having a cardboard cutout of Mitt Romney in zone trainings.
That's awesome.
For elders to roleplay to, roleplay missionary
awesome.
experiences with. Yeah, it's like, we are not a political entity, President Miller. He's like, fine. So then we break out, go to lunch, and then we go into the chapel of our mission office, because our mission office is just a state building. And we go there and we get sorted into training companionships, really like Sorting Hat vibes. We have all of the trainees on one side of the chapel and all of the trainers on the other side of the chapel. And President Miller would call us up, call the trainee up, and then call up the trainer. And he's like, your companionship, congratulations. And I was sorted with Elder Tefenga Toto. He's not allowed to drive. He's like technically allowed to drive, but like he literally got his driver's license by bribing the DMV agent or the equivalent of in
Yikes.
Tonga. Gave him $20 and he's like, here's a license. And so literally
Sure,
like
out fine.
came to Utah, did not know what a stoplight was.
Oh
And
dear.
after the first time he drove, he got 17 bad driver calls. And they're like,
Nice.
we're just going to take these keys away from you.
Nice.
So anyway, so I drive back and like we have the whole district in this Subaru 4-door. And so we have 2 people in the front and 4 people in the back. We called
Wait.
it 4 deep.
Sorry, Alex. Did y'all have a black Subaru?
Yeah!
Okay. I ended up driving that car eventually.
So
Let me tell you, that thing was a piece of trash by the time it got to me.
did you know I wrecked it?
It doesn't surprise me. That car was like barely hanging on. Some sweet sister from the mission office had to say a prayer for that car. And that's like the only reason it worked. That thing was so busted up.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
No,
just
I
put
wrecked that
connection.
car. I wrecked that car on the first day.
Oh my gosh.
Literally backing out of a parking stall. And I'm like, I'm a missionary. I'm going to let my companion back me out. And Elder Tefenga Toto just backs me straight into a pole. And so, like, literally the first day, I have to call Elder Graham. I'm like, hey, I wrecked your car. And we were on foot for the rest of the transfer.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember going to our meal appointment, which was green bean casserole, and Elder Tefenga Toto was trying to cheer me up because I'm this poor greenie who just wrecked our car. And he was like, it happens more often than you'd think, which did make me feel better at the time, but it's complete BS. But yeah, got home for the day, exhausted, and like my district leader, Elder Grimley, is waiting for us to like give me the welcome to the district talk, which I found out later is not a normal thing necessarily. And yeah, that was like my first day experience in high definition.
So can I share like the polar opposite, which was my first day
Yes.
into the Salt Lake City South mission?
Yes.
Alrighty, so by the time I'm coming into the mission, President Miller literally has 9 days left before he's done. So that dude is checked out. So
Turns out mission presidents get just as trunky as missionaries.
So we get picked up from the train station, and it's like a 10-minute drive down a road with a single turn, and then you're at the mission office. And we go inside, and there's like a group of missionaries that are already there waiting for us. And so they ask for our driver's license, and they give us a folder with the 12 weeks booklet in it, but nobody really ever tells us what it is. And then we get a bag, like a ham and cheese sandwich, and like a bag of Fritos. So we like go into the primary room, and we sit down, and that's where the group of missionaries are. And then President Miller comes in and he's telling us like, "Oh, elders and sisters, we're really happy to have you here. This is one of the greatest missions, and we think that the first thing that you need to do is be able to meet your trainer." And so he starts like pairing us up, but then like halfway through he gets a call and just leaves. And so and so one of our APs, Elder McCaffrey, finishes up for us, and I get paired with Elder Hammond.
I forgot Ham was your trainer.
Yeah, he was. Old Hambone was the daddy-o. So we get paired up and we start eating our lunch, and while we're eating our lunch, Sister Miller comes in and hands out all of our driver's license back, and she gives us a Book of Mormon, and she like talks to us for like maybe 2 minutes, and she's, "Well, President Miller really wants y'all to try to read the Book of Mormon within your first transfer." And there's a little glue-in on the inside cover of things that we should try to highlight and look out for that were all like mission related. And then we were all in our cars headed back towards our area by 10:30 or something like that. So come to find out later that you're supposed to have an interview with your mission president. Well, I didn't really get that. In fact, I didn't even shake my mission president's hand. So maybe I did once when I first got there. So my trainer, I guess I should talk about him. I really have a soft spot in my heart for Elder Hammond. He's originally from Oklahoma, and at that point in his mission, he had been out for 11 weeks. And so he had just barely finished his quote-unquote training, and he was also called to be the district leader, and he had no idea what he was doing. If he ever listens to this, I'm not trying to trash on him, but it was just, we were both so young. We didn't really know how to do missionary work yet. So we just tried our hardest, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, he was super busy because he wanted to be a good district leader, but he wanted to train me right. But he didn't have a built-up skill set yet to do either. That was kind of interesting. But I always do remember, I never doubted Elder Hammond was always trying his hardest to be the best missionary and trainer that he could be. And I always really appreciate that. Me and Elder Hammond ended up only being together for one transfer, but I do remember he gave me the best teaching tool that I ever had on my entire mission. And it was the question, if you know that these things are true, what are you going to do about that? And I cannot tell you that single question, how many doors and how many awesome spiritual experiences that generated for me. And I just kind of wonder if I didn't have Elder Hammond and he didn't teach me that specific question, what would I have missed out on? So anyways, that was my first day. I don't really remember. Oh, we got this really beat up black Subaru Legacy, and I now know it's beat up. That's what we drove around. So that was my first day, and that was a far cry from what Alex was able to do, I guess.
You didn't have the sorting hat experience that I did.
No.
Okay, let me break it down for you because my day lasted like 3 days. So we get up at 3:30 in the morning to get on a shuttle to go to the airport. The flight itinerary is basically we have a flight from Salt Lake to LAX, and then there's a connection from LAX to Bakersfield. So we make our flight from Salt Lake to LAX. We get there, and I'm just traveling with my MTC companion, who has also been reassigned to Bakersfield. So both of us were supposed to be going to the Santos, Brazil mission and had both been reassigned to the Bakersfield mission. So it was like, sweet, we'll just pair them up. So basically, we miss our connection. So we're kind of stranded in LAX. We find another pair of elders. It's Elder Hull and Elder Vargas, who are also visa waiters, who were supposed to go to Brazil. So we're like, oh, good, we all missed the flight. Let's figure out what we're supposed to do. And we called the mission office, and they were like, okay, we'll figure something out. I don't think there's another flight until tomorrow, but we'll figure something out. And so there was a good while there when, like, none of us has cell phones. So we just have to like, hang out by the payphone and really hope that someone rescues us. And Elder Vargas, oh my gosh, what a great guy. He was immediately like, all right, we're going to sit down, we're going to eat lunch, and we're going to plan where we're going to tract in LAX.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's commitment right there.
I know. I was like, okay, this guy is it. But it was also like all of us were totally new. None of us knew. So does it start now? Am I supposed to be talking to everybody now?
Sister,
Sure,
if you don't have
I
5 Book of
guess we
Mormons
are.
placed by the time you get
Right.
into the field, what are you even doing?
Exactly. I'm not even kidding. And that's kind of the mentality that they get to you in the MTC, which is good. You should be psyched for your mission, and you should be psyched and have the faith that everyone's going to say yes to you and stuff like that. I think that that's great. But like that is supercharged to you in the MTC. I specifically remember someone saying, talk to the person who sits next to you on the plane. Talk to the people standing next to you in line. You're a missionary now. Go do it. So yeah, we were like, okay, I guess we're gonna tract in LAX
In
and we
the
might have to
airport.
spend the night. Yeah, at this airport. And it never occurred to us that that might be against the rules or something, or someone might have a problem with proselyting in this area. But thank goodness it didn't really come up because the APs came in a giant van and picked us up.
Nice.
So I never had to find out if if tracting in the airport would work.
Honestly, though, can you imagine like being an AP and picking up like a group of green missionaries who got in trouble because they were tracting in the airport? I'd be like, dang.
These guys are serious.
I would
did-
definitely be impressed.
I will say, I just remember sitting next to this guy and wanting so badly to talk, thinking like, I need to talk to this guy. It's important that I try. And I just couldn't think of a single word to say to him. I'm not even like, I was like, what do you even say? I don't know. I tried to start some kind of conversation with him and it just did not pan out. He didn't really want to talk to me and I did not have the skills, but the shuttle stops and everybody gets out. One of the APs saw that I had been talking to him, and so he gave him a pass-along card. And I was like, yeah!
Got it.
We covered that base. He now has a way to the gospel.
Nice.
Yeah, that was great. So of course we missed everything because we were stuck at the airport. Sister Wyman and I slept over at some member's house. Well, although I found out later that all the elders got to sleep at the mission home and they just had a fun sleepover. And I was like,
Oh,
man.
no girls allowed.
Yeah, I want a fun sleepover. But I mean, I don't know. Sister Wyman and I got along great, so it was still fun to be with her. But yeah, so that was getting to Bakersfield. And then the next day at transfer meeting, I was assigned my trainer, Sister Filburn, who is awesome. And I will tell you more about her later. But first impressions of Bakersfield were, oh, it's gross here. It's everything is gross. The air is brown and gray and there are no trees. And as we're like getting out from transfer meeting, so the way that we had it set up was that most people didn't drive their cars to transfer meeting unless you were really close to Bakersfield. If you were like an hour out, you would ask a member to drive you. So a member is driving me and Sister Filburn back to our area, which is Palmdale. And she's like, do you want to stop for lunch? And we're like, yeah, let's get lunch. And we stop at Burger King inside Bakersfield. And I just can't express to you enough how much this Burger King was just a microcosm of Bakersfield in itself. Like,
I'm excited to
Okay.
hear this.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was gross. It was gross, and there were not enough employees there. So then I need to use the bathroom. So we go into the bathroom, and there's like, I'm not even kidding, like 12 to 20 flies just living in the bathroom.
Nice.
There is a sign telling people not to vandalize the toilets and the high penalty that they will pay if they vandalize the toilets, which I have never seen in a single other bathroom in my life. Is that a normal thing?
No.
Who
What
is
was the
going around
penalty?
vandalizing
Yeah,
toilets?
that's what I want to know.
Are we talking like $500, $25,000? Like, what kind of high penalty?
It
Telling
wasn't-
your mom.
It wasn't specific, but it was like, we will, to the full extent of the law, we will get you for whoever does this.
Can you imagine sitting in court and being like, you vandalized a toilet. I'm guilty, Your Honor.
And then, like, to top it all off, I go to wash my hands, and the water, instead of going down like water is supposed to go in a faucet, it goes straight out onto me.
Nice.
I don't even know
Nice.
how they did that, but it was like, and Sister Filburn sees this and looks at me and literally just says, "Welcome to Bakersfield," and throws her head back and cackles.
That's dark. That's so dark.
So yeah, that's what Bakersfield is.
I love Sister Filburn.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I love like
Anyway.
in your notes, your day one that what happened is literally how gross Bakerfield was. The Burger King.
I'm sure there will be many more pieces of evidence that I give to my thesis of Bakersfield is gross, but let's let that be at part 1.
Oh my
That
gosh!
gross.
Like it's apparent.
There's a lot of reasons not to go to Bakersfield.
I mean, like, I kind of want to go just to see, because, like, I'm having a hard time imagining just how grotesque this place must be.
I just am imagining the family of flies that have set up roost in the Burger King bathroom.
Sorry, and just one more thing. Anytime I tell somebody that I went on my mission to Bakersfield and they're even a little bit familiar with that area, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry." I am not
this is
joking.
like-
That is a real reaction that I get from people when I tell them that I went to Bakersfield.
If somebody hears this who's from Bakersfield, they're not going to be like, I take offense to this. They're going to be like, you understand my pain.
I think so. There was
Yeah, I mean,
one
like
family-
you loved the people there, and you loved that you served your mission there. You just
Yes.
hate the location.
Yeah.
Didn't love
no,
the pollution, the
The
dirtiness,
people are wonderful. Yeah.
the people with too many vowels in their names.
Yeah. People would say, "Oh yeah, like welcome to the armpit of California."
Wow.
Like they know.
I feel like every place has that, though. Some armpit place that's mega rough.
Well, so on some level, I relate with this, actually. My first area, the area that I tracked into, the area that I wrecked my first car in, was Kearns. Kearns is arguably the armpit of Salt Lake. We called it Dirty Kearns because
It
the
was
place-
dirty.
it's just dirty, right? You're walking along the road and you just see trash everywhere. And in Kearns, it's just not taken care of. And so you just see poor patch jobs on the road and just literal garbage that's in the street.
True.
And I love Kearns to death. It's by far my favorite area as a missionary, but it's dirty. So your first area, was it Kearns or...
No, so my first area with Elder Hammond was the Jordan River Stake,
Okay, that's Kearns.
which was, yeah, I mean, for all
That's
intents and purposes,
Kearns.
it was just as dirty. Everything that Alex is talking about, I can attest. So, Alex, how long did you spend in the Kearns area total?
So, assuming like Kearns zones and whatnot, I spent 17 and a half months in.
Okay. See, that's a long time. That's essentially a quarter of your mission
Basically,
elsewhere.
my whole mission.
Yeah, your whole
So-
mission.
So after I left the Jordan River stake, I went to that area. I went to Alex's old area. That was my second transfer out, and I stayed in that area for 11 and a half months. Just that single area. One of the main places we would go to like track and do missionary work was this place called Buena Vista, and it was an apartment complex, but like all of the units were set in like a oval-like shape. So just imagine a track around a football field, and then on the outside of the track was a bunch of apartment buildings. And
And
so
everybody sits on their porch and smokes. And there's
Yeah.
this giant cloud of smoke that hovers around the middle of the apartment complex.
So I've tried to explain this, but there is just a very particular energy there. And it's like everyone is part of this weird family. If you go to Buena Vista, like everyone's got your back, but also you got to look out for yourself 100% of the time. or whatever.
Yo, was Lily there when you were at Buena Vista?
Lily.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's from Fiji, and she was the best thing in that area. You'd just be walking by, and she'd poke her head out and be like, "Elders, come here!" and just shove food in you. Just be like,
Yes.
"Hey, you want a water bottle?" "Well, yeah, I want a water bottle." "You want a trail bar?" And you're like, "I think I could do that." "Okay. Also, here's a chicken." It's just like, whoa! I actually ate Thanksgiving with Lily.
Oh my goodness, how'd you survive, dude?
It was simultaneously the best and worst decision I made.
Ever.
Yeah, Anyway,
So I remember she gave us industrial buckets.
Oh my god.
That's supposed to be for a party, right? To serve at least 40 people. I kid you not, this woman gave me and Elder Hammond each our own bucket of ice cream.
Holy cow.
And she expected us to eat it all, and neither of us did. That is the level of charity that this woman will go through for the missionaries.
How could you possibly store such?
We
large
didn't. We
amount of
couldn't.
ice
Like,
cream?
we didn't have room in our freezer for it. But she bought it for us anyways. Oh, man. Yeah, Kearns was just a total trip. At least mission culture-wise, that was the place to be. So if you got called to go to Kearns, you were expecting, like, some stuff to go down. You were expecting to baptize. You were expecting to have a good time. If you go to Kearns, if you are blessed enough to receive a calling to Kearns, you will be there for a very, very long time.
I don't know why it is. No other zone was like that. There were Kearns missionaries, and there was everyone else. And it's just like, if you were a Kearns missionary, you were a Kearns missionary.
Just to, like, kind of prove that point, after I left Kearns, I only stayed in an area for 2 transfers once. After that, every transfer, I transferred into a new area. Every
Wow.
single time without fail. So it ended up 11 areas total or something like that, even though I spent a year in one.
Dang. That's crazy.
Just wait for the future episodes, guys. There's going to be so many stories about Kearns.
Kearns
It's
is where
just-
it happens.
It is a magical place, and I long for Kearns. I would love to go back there one day, just to, like, be there, you know?
Dude, if you're ever back in Utah, just tell me. We'll go to some of the food joints. El Super
Absolutely.
Taco Mex is now El Super Torta Mex. Still delicious. Yeah, there's... Anyway, good food there. So, what was your first area like, Clark?
I honestly don't remember that much about it. At the time that I got there, the area was pretty dead. You know, from a missionary's perspective, you know, there's nobody that the previous elders were teaching, not even less active members that we were working with. There was just nothing going on. Probably the most notable factor as far as like Tokyo goes is it's the headquarters of one of the larger churches in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
The Church of the Hand of Light or something like that. Basically, their thing is like they can shoot light out of their hand and do stuff with that. Like basically, imagine like Jedi powers.
What?
So we ran into a lot of people that I would consider crazy, but they probably thought that we were crazy. My first transfer, we ran into someone who was using her light shooting powers on us to get us to go away, and it worked. We didn't want to be there anymore, so we left. But anyway, yeah, so it was the headquarters of that church, which made proselyting, I think, a little bit harder than normal.
For sure.
But I actually ended up finding an investigator there who got baptized. But honestly, the main thing I remember from that first area is actually just my companion. So he was native Japanese, but unlike a lot of my other native Japanese companions, he really spoke just no English.
Mm-hmm.
Which made it so hard to communicate. Holy cow. I can't really emphasize enough how lonely I got and how quickly I got lonely just because I couldn't communicate anything on a deep level at all. And even if I tried, we were communicating at about a sentence a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the communicating that we did do was just focused on really essential things like what time are we going to eat? Which direction are we turning? Things like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like tell me if you feel like I'm wrong, but one of the things that's important to note about the first 12 weeks is the first 12 weeks is already a really lonely time anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how Carolyn and Seth feel about it. Maybe not 12 weeks as a whole, but just the MTC, you might as well be on Saturn. It's a whole other thing altogether.
Right.
But in the mission field, you know, you're in the world, and you're all of a sudden having to realize what it means to be
like
completely
do like actual
separated.
missionary work.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
wake up, and by 10 o'clock you're done with studying and planning, and then you go out, you know, work until 9 o'clock and come home, right? Like I remember the way that I would cope is I would sing hymns to myself because I'm like, you know, if I can keep this in my mind, it'll keep me going, and it did. I was singing hymns to myself often, especially since my companion, kind of like for you, my companion Tefeka Toto, he spoke English pretty well. He took English in high school in Tonga, but there are such big cultural differences between us that one of the things that he would say to people when we were no longer companions is how quiet I was. And I'm not a quiet person,
No.
right?
Dang.
But I loved Tofenga Toto, who's fantastic, but there just wasn't a whole lot for us to deeply connect on.
Yeah, Elder Inoue was awesome. He was probably, of the different trainers that I could have been, sorting hatted together with, he was honestly probably the best of the batch. I think that he was easily the most experienced. He had just come out of the mission home and had been there for like something ridiculous, like a year or something like that. He was on top of his game as a missionary, but holy cow, to a new missionary, it was super intimidating. Like, he wanted me to grow and learn as fast as possible. So even the limited English that he did know, he rarely used to help me learn Japanese faster.
Full immersion.
Right. Or had me try a lot of missionary kind of stuff that I only kind of theoretically knew how to do, but really actually just didn't know how to do. And so I failed all the freaking time trying at different stuff, even if the stuff is as simple as just, okay, we're on our bikes, get us back to the apartment, Elder, hopefully before 9 o'clock. Man, I failed at that every single time.
Oh.
And it was so hard. I loved my mission every way, but the first 2 months, I strongly considered coming home early, mostly just because of how hard I feel like my relationship is with my trainer and how hard he's pushing me. Let me give you an example. So he's really strict about missionary rules and proper etiquette as a missionary in Japan, which makes sense for him to train me about that because he's Japanese. He's an expert on that. So I got there in the middle of January and we had a couple big snowstorms in our area. And even in the middle of these snowstorms, as we were knocking door to door, he said that it was inappropriate to have my hat and coat on when they answered the door. So before we knocked on the door, we would take off our hats and coats and just be standing there freezing. And if we went to like an apartment complex, that just meant that I wasn't wearing my hat and coat.
That's intense.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Amongst other things. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm freezing here. And he's like, well, maybe they'll take pity on you, Elder.
Dang.
That's harsh. So, like, did you find that was true, like, through the rest of your mission? Did you, like, follow those kind of strict, kind of...
Yeah, he was totally right on every point.
Huh.
That
makes
like
sense.
at the time I was like, no, this is just like an overzealous elder. He's way too intense. But I was like, no, like my whole mission treated missionary rules really, really strict. And then any additional, I don't know, like Japanese culture etiquette that I got from him actually helped me in huge ways. So at the time I hated it, but it totally ended up paying off. But
So, question.
yeah.
Knowing that was the hardest time on your mission and the trainer was doing that to kind of make you grow the best way, do you feel like you would wish he had done it differently, or are you just grateful for his intensity?
I'm just grateful. So I had him for my first 2 transfers, then left to a different area. But within 2 transfers, after no longer being his companion, but still seeing him at mission conferences and stuff like that, then I really realized, A, how patient he was with me, because I was a total butthole to him, and B, just how effective of a trainer he was. And anyway, yeah, we became awesome friends for the rest of the mission. But at the time that we were companions, it was really intensely bad. Like I remember at one point we got home and the few moments I felt like I could relax during the day were meal times. And so we got home, it was probably like 3 or 4 o'clock, so not quite dinner time, but we'd just gotten back to the apartment. So I was like, okay, maybe I can eat something before we have a weekly planning meeting or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, I asked him, can I eat this bread? And the response that I heard was, no, we can't have dinner right now, or even for the next couple hours. We've got a ton of stuff to do. And I was like, but I'm starving. And he's like, no, you can't have dinner. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I sit down and start doing the stuff with him. And then I see him get up and go fix himself something and start eating it. And I was like, furious. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You're having dinner and I can't have dinner? And we fought about that for probably like an hour and a half. And it ended up just coming down to a language thing. He was saying, no, yeah, that's no problem if you have that bread. And I was thinking he was saying, no, you can't eat dinner. And oh my gosh, that
Which
kind of thing
means you're
happened
just
all
being-
the freaking time.
To him, you're just being like an absolute jerk.
Yeah, which I was.
I appreciate that you were trying to fight him for it. No, that's super interesting though.
Anyway, but yeah, like once I got a little bit more Japanese under my belt and was able to be with other companions and see kind of the comparison between him and those other companions, he really was amazing. We became really good friends. But yeah, those first 2 transfers were really tough.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad that I never had to have that experience. There were a lot of things that were hard about my first and second transfer, or, and the mission in general, but I'm so glad that I never had the fight of, yes, of course you can have dinner. Wait, why can't I have dinner?
Yeah, the English-speaking missionaries got really fortunate that we never had a companion who didn't understand us, huh?
Well, so my second transfer, when I got transferred into Kearns, I got put with a missionary who had actually come out with me. His name was Elder Moreira. He was from Alicante, Spain, and he did not speak a single word of English. And on top of that, we were whitewashing into that area because it had been closed for a couple months for, I don't know. I guess Alex did so much damage there. They're just like, all right, we need to recover for a minute before we send somebody else. No, I'm just kidding. That mentality that you're talking about, just like being frustrated because you can't communicate, like, I get that. And that's like a very real thing. But then, like, on top of it, to feel like I'm being told I can't do something just for seemingly just because, like, I promise you that my reaction would not be as tame as what she did.
Especially
Like,
when he gets up and makes lunch for himself.
right, then I'd be like, oh, so that's how it is. You want to fight then, huh? Like, that's like immediately where I'd go. I wouldn't try to be patient and at least have some sort of verbal argument / discussion about it.
It was barely verbal. I'm happy that that's how all it was.
But just knowing the individual that I was back then, I'd be like, like, no, that's
We're
not
fighting
happening.
now.
So I don't know about how many of y'all felt, but that transfer, when I didn't know what I was doing, my companion didn't know what he was doing yet, because we were just so new, and he was also having to learn a new language. Like, that's how I learned that we aren't necessarily in control of what happens in the mission field as far as having success and finding those who have been prepared. If somebody is prepared, the Lord's going to make sure that they get baptized. Because we had a lot of success that first transfer, and I don't even know how it happened, because we couldn't even talk to people, really. Like, the both of us. I'm so glad I learned that lesson real fast, because I was like, no matter how good I got at the mechanics of being a missionary, at the end of the day, I'm not actually going to be able to do anything. I just need to be prepared to be a tool for the Lord, and He's going to use me to get the people who are ready. And that is it. And I've never forgotten that, how serious of a lesson that was.
Tafanga Toto, when I was training, he was out 3 months. Like, he literally just got done with his training. I mean, he was...
Oh, so you guys were both newbies.
We were both newbies. I mean, Tafanga Toto, I swear he, like, came out of the womb and was like, I'm just waiting to become an AP. Like, this guy, exactly obedient. Like, stoic to the max. But still, he was a greenie, and he told me later, he's like, the training terrified him because he just got done with it himself. And I went from him... And my second transfer trainer, his name is Elder Henry. We went over to Jordan River, which is what Seth was talking about with Buena Vista. And Elder Henry had just got done with his training. So Henry and I were training together in the same district. So all of a sudden, he was now my trainer. But we killed it. Looking back, we were terrible. You know, it brings me back. I was canoeing with one of my buddies in Scouts a long time ago. And we had no synergy together. And we spent the entire time just kind of seesawing back and forth. But we had so much power behind our oars that we were ahead of everyone, even though we were going twice the distance. And I felt like that's how it was with Elder Henry and I, where we were just throwing stuff at the wall. And we were doing it with so much passion. And like Seth said, we were putting ourselves out there and allowing ourselves to become tools, because I could see a definite improvement in my missionary work as I got better, but those transfers were insanely powerful transfers too, even though we had no collective experience.
Yeah.
Kind of gives you perspective as to why Heavenly Father sends out 18-year-old boys who, for all intents and purposes, are just about the least experienced people that you can still send out on missions.
There's value in a clean slate, right?
Yeah, definitely.
True. It's true.
Yeah. So my trainer had also only been out for 2 transfers. She just finished 12 weeks. And I remember as we were driving around the first day, she was like, yeah, so I haven't been out that long. And you know how when you make out with someone for the first time, these are the words she used. You make out with someone for the first time, you're just kind of figuring it out together. You just kind of go together and you just try different things until you figure out what your rhythm is, and then you go with that. I think it's gonna be like that.
Okay.
Wow.
Honestly, the example itself is like very awkward, but the point it accomplishes is she's kind of onto something. In my opinion. Like, it makes sense.
No, for real.
That's pretty great.
It's cool because you get put in a lot of situations that you wouldn't otherwise. With Tefenga Todo, we had this lady that we started teaching. She was a roommate of this elderly sister in the ward. Her name is Elna, and she was kind of like a hydration station for us, because out walking all day in the summer, we'd stop by there for Gatorades. And
Oh,
we built a relationship with her where she's like, I want you to try to teach my roommate. And this woman, her name was Maggie, she had lost all hope. She's like 70 years old. And just talking to her, she's the kind of person who, at the end of a conversation, you just feel drained. Not because she's just a pain to talk to, but just because she has given up on life and happiness. And we were talking to her, and we had our first lesson with my trainer's trainer and district leader, Elder Grimley. And by the end of it, he leaves. He's like, hey, you did great there. You should definitely drop her. Because, you need to be teaching people who are ready. You need to be reaping white grain, right? The Lord sent you to do that. And you're going to waste your time here. And, well, Tefenga Todo and I were like, okay. And but in reality, we're like, we don't have a lot going on.
yeah.
We're going to teach her. And she's a willing investigator. And looking back at those lessons, they were not like, okay, lesson 1, lesson 2. Like, we literally spent a whole lesson reading Moroni, which that was inspired from Tefenga. He's like, you need to read Moroni, not Alma 31, not whatever.
Not one of the
Moroni-
standards.
Yeah, if you can think about Moroni, it's a very depressing book, right?
True.
And somehow that book, it gave her hope. And the first lesson, she was like, you're wasting your time with me. If I was ever to be baptized, the font would crack, right? If I walk through the doors of the church, the doors will crumble on me. There's no way in this life or the next life that I'm going to get anywhere close to an LDS church. And we're like, okay, we'd still love to teach you. She's like, fine. And
Challenge accepted.
yeah, I love this woman so much. Maggie, like, she is incredible. She invited me to give her speech at her baptism, and she got baptized on December 12th, 2012. And if you were there around and have a good memory, you remember that as the day that the world was supposed to end, according to the Aztec calendar.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I definitely made a joke. I'm like, well, I'm here, the font isn't cracked, the doors aren't crumbled, and, well, the world even decided to stick around another day.
Must be doing the right thing.
Yeah, I went to her at the end of my mission, and just to catch up, and after, and she's just going to the temple every week with Elna, and she was so happy. She just had the life put back into her eyes, and her situation hadn't changed. She's still divorced twice and everything, and she wasn't dating again, but she's just happy. And that experience wouldn't have happened if we were around missionaries who had experience, because Elder Grimley to some extent was right, but in that case he was wrong. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Lord puts such inexperienced missionaries together sometimes for being trained.
That makes sense.
It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I think it's so funny. I relate so well to that feeling of, oh, you think we should drop this investigator? We don't have anything else to do. You don't realize that if I drop this investigator, we won't have any investigators. I haven't even learned how to teach any lessons.
Yeah, pretty much. I know the feeling well too. not super from Kearns, but definitely later on.
Yeah. Yeah, my first area, it had originally been just one ward was covered by a companionship. And then the transfer before I got there, it was divided into two. And then the transfer I got there, one of those was divided again into two. So we had a really small area, and it was just a really, really Christian. There were several other Baptist proselyters in that area, and we would see them as we went out. And it was like, oh man, people hate having their door knocked on twice in one day by two different churches.
Two different sets.
You have to get in front of them.
Yeah, so needless to say, we had some hard times in that area. But it's all good. I feel like learning to like have faith even though you're not having a ton of success is one of the great lessons of missionary life. Just like failing, just failing over and over and over again and being okay with it and being able to maintain a spirit of hope and love is one of the greatest lessons that you can take from missionary life and bring to real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's the easiest place to learn because you do have to just keep going.
Yeah,
So-
what else are you going to do?
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
All right, well, next week we're going to take a break from the chronological stories and just talk about the daily life of a missionary. So thank you everybody for listening, and thank you guys for joining us.